What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Week 15 preview. Ravens versus Jaguars Sunday Night Football. Back in the prime time. First time since the Los Angeles Chargers game before the bye week that we're in prime time. But it won't be the last.
Oh, yeah.
We are 10-3 coming into this game, winning 3 straight. Jacksonville is 8-5 after losing 2 straight. So right now the spread on the game, Baltimore minus 3.5. The over-under is 42.5. Weather in the game is looking to be about 62 degrees with a 30% chance of rain, according to Michael. And it's supposed to be raining there all day, I guess, and then kind of lighten up by the game time, hopefully.
The sky should be completely clear around 10, so I'm thinking we might have a little bit of a wet first half, and then at halftime, when everyone gets back out there, it'll be a wet but not raining game. So
we will have a Real Talk Ravens podcast member in the stands. Mike is going to be there.
Hopefully I'll actually get more footage this time than I did the last time.
He's going to get some footage for us. Maybe we'll be able to add that into the post-game podcast that we do. And if you guys are going to the game, make sure you look out for Mike and give him say hey, what's up to him.
Hell yeah, let's send these suckers packing. That was so lame. No, Jesus.
DUVAL is a fun place to play. I think we have a lot of Florida players on our team that are looking forward to the homecoming,
and so that way a lot of Florida-based fans. Maybe not Northern Florida. I will say I did go to the game last year in Jacksonville. At that point, the Jaguars were like 3-5 or something. Like they weren't that good. It was kind of like they kicked off their run against us. But let me tell you something. This was a 1:00 game, and it had a playoff atmosphere. I cannot even begin to imagine how crazy this stadium is going to be on a Sunday night game with the Jaguars' backs against the wall. It's going to be something else. Expect their best.
Yes, for sure.
Their very, very best.
I remember last year's game, and our defense, Trevor Lawrence just had his coming out party against our defense. So hopefully he does not do that this year. But let's go ahead and get into it a little bit. Threads of the week, we are going to be rocking our white jerseys and black pants, our normal road attire. And for the referee this week, we are going to have Sean Smith. Okay, Sean Smith is this fellow right here. So, yeah.
He's reffed another game I've been to.
Really? So just looking at his numbers for this year, he's just a tad above average in penalties per game. So nothing too crazy from what I've seen. I wasn't able to really look into, the types of penalties that he throws, but
I'll be honest. He's one of those guys who, when he first started, he's a newer ref. He just started reffing in the league as a full-time head ref, probably definitely within the Lamar era.
I think in the last 5 years or so.
And he used to suck, but he has gotten a lot better at just being unbiased and being fair with his calls. I will say he's someone I really used to dislike, but he's one of the better refs in my opinion right now, as far as not necessarily just he's not gonna throw a stupid freaking pass interference on the last play of the game on a Hail Mary or something like that. He's gonna let them play.
I think the NFL probably I feel like they try to make sure they have decent refs in the primetime games in particular. So that's always a good thing about playing on the primetime.
And I'll tell you one. I just wanted to say one thing just to troll some fans out there. We went like 3 years with having no wide receivers who would like do things like line up offsides or drop the ball or just fumble or something like that. And never once did Lamar Jackson or Tyler Huntley yell about the refs at the end of the game like a 5-year-old. I know it's not his proudest moment, but Patrick Mahomes and Andy Reid's reaction to the game the other night is exactly why this season has been so fun to watch, because they are like fish out of water. They're not used to being the 3 seed, the 4 seed. They're not used to having the Broncos a game behind them this late in the year. They're not used to any of it. And I hope to God that they get their date at M&T Bank Stadium with no receivers, and it's just Patrick Mahomes left to do whatever he can do. The same way we've been forced to play them for so many years.
I will come into their defense a little bit. They were lining up like that the entire game, and the referee didn't warn them or say anything at all, or didn't throw any flags or anything on them earlier on the game, and he waited until that moment in particular to throw the flag. So I feel like there is a reason to be upset because of that reason. I wouldn't say, if that was the first time they did it all game, then I feel like, all right, you can't really be upset. But since they were doing that the entire game and no penalty was thrown, there's a reason, I think, a valid reason.
I would be angrier at the fact that the next play, Von Miller was a mile offside and wasn't called. But I don't think you can get angry at a ref for calling a foul that is clearly a foul. You know what I mean? I get that they haven't been calling it all night, but maybe they haven't been seeing it all night. Maybe it hasn't been as egregious. How many times should their left tackle have been flagged the opening week and since then and not been flagged? They get away with things because they're the Chiefs. And one time it bit them in the butt, and they deserved it. And you know what? I do feel bad because that was one of the plays of the century. That was one of the best plays I've ever seen. And it sucks. But how many times has that happened to X team? Just name a team it's happened to them.
Yeah,
and
100%.
That's the game. You have to play the game the right way. I understand being upset that it was the first time they called it in the whole game, but the call was right. If you're going to be mad at the refs, be mad at them for not calling Von Miller offsides. Don't be mad at them for calling Kadarius Toney, who probably wouldn't have started on a Ravens team over the last 4 years. That's how bad he is.
You're crazy. Kadarius Toney is good.
Yeah, okay, he's good until his 75 mistakes a game cause you to lose. He's talented.
75 mistakes per game.
He drops the ball every week. He
had 1 week where he dropped a bunch of passes in the first game of the season.
Pretty sure he's been playing less these last few weeks because of the drops. His snap count has been down exponentially because of the mistakes and the drops.
I would take him on my team. I'm just saying he's electric with the ball in his hands.
Just like John Ross, right?
No, way better than John Ross.
Okay, sorry, just had to bully the Chiefs a little bit because they can suck it.
All right, well, getting into the Ravens, the signings for this week, big signing this week. We signed quarterback Malik Cunningham off of the Patriots practice squad, former Louisville quarterback, and was the quarterback after Lamar Jackson at Louisville. So they have a good relationship. He also played a little bit of wide receiver and returner with the Patriots because he's an athlete. Harbaugh came out and said that this was more of a long-term signing. We didn't have to release anybody off of our active roster since we are putting Duvernay on the injured reserve with his back injury. They do expect to see him back by the playoffs, though, so that's always good. But with that, Tylan Wallace filled in just fine for him. He just won the AFC Special Teams Player of the Week, which is pretty cool. And then we officially activated corner Pepe Williams onto the active roster. He's basically taking the spot from Mark Andrews because we never filled that.
This is a very interesting place to be at this point of the year with the Ravens. Normally, our injury report looks more like the Jaguars injury report, except instead of a bunch of limiteds, it's a bunch of doubtfuls. So I feel
the Steve Saunders effect.
Right. I don't know. Maybe the Jets hired him this year. That's why they're so unlucky. But I will say, with the injury report looking the way it is this week, the one real thing that we're gonna have to look at, obviously, is Kyle Hamilton. Kyle Hamilton was limited Wednesday and Thursday. He had the knee brace on. He was practicing, but he definitely looked like he is still feeling it a little bit. My guess, personally, is that he's gonna be limited if he plays at all on Sunday night, and that's more of a precautionary thing.
One thing that I will say is this game is a tad more important than the 49ers game in terms of playoff seeding goes, because it's an AFC matchup and the 49ers are in the NFC. This goes towards that tiebreaker record. So I think if Kyle Hamilton's close to being ready to go, he'll play. He did come out and say that he was trying to go back in last week at the end of the game for the third time, but the trainers were like, yeah, we're just going to say, it's not worth it for you to come back in at this point. So I have a feeling that he is going to play.
I think he'll play some. I just don't think he'll play as much.
We don't. Yeah, that's the thing. We can rotate him in because we have the numbers, especially now that we're bringing back Pepe Williams to be that nickel. One thing that I will speak on is the fact that Arthur Millette's kind of been getting exposed lately in pass coverage. He started off the season really well, but in pass coverage lately, he's been struggling. So I could see Pepe Williams kind of getting a lot of those snaps as the nickel.
Ask any Steelers fan; they've been saying this all year that Millette is going to like kind of fall off at the end. So, I mean, I'm not going to write Millette off because he's had a pretty phenomenal season, all things considered. But it definitely does help to have the reassurance of having Pepe Williams back in the lineup. And so it's very touchy with Kyle Hamilton. I feel like if I were the coach and I felt like there was any chance of him getting hurt, like beyond the normal chance of getting hurt in a football game, I would hold him out only because, yes, I get the Jaguars game is more important. But if he gets hurt now, then we don't have him for the stretch.
I think if there's any doubt that that's an issue, then sure, right, don't play him. But I think the way they made it sound is it's more of like a tissue, not really a ligament thing.
Okay.
So I think structurally he's probably okay. It's more of a pain tolerance deal.
Well, our safeties have been pretty good at pain tolerance this year.
He's so freaky athletic. I think he'll be all right. But looking at the Jaguars injury report, man, they have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 guys limited, 11 total. Now, a lot of these guys were not playing last week, so that's at least a good sign for them. But a big thing for them that you have to look at here are tackle Walker Little and offensive lineman Ezra Cleveland. Both of those guys are starting offensive linemen for the Jaguars. So that's two guys to watch out for. Another guy, a couple guys to look at are corners Tyson Campbell, corner Trey Herndon, and safety Andre Cisco. All three of those guys are starters in the secondary for Jacksonville.
So I actually I was listening to the Vault earlier, and they said that or Bobby Trossett, I think, said that besides Cisco and Campbell, everyone else is more than likely good to go. It's more of just a late season kind of they're already hurt kind of thing.
I don't know if you can technically say that.
I don't know. You never know. I would expect most of these guys to play outside of
I can tell you Cisco, Campbell, and Herndon, all of those guys did not play last week. All three of them.
They didn't play at all? Okay.
Nope. Neither did the starting linemen Little and Cleveland. Neither of them played last week either. So they were hurting last week with injuries.
Okay. Now, there at the bottom, you see Trevor Lawrence. He's full go. I don't think anything's stopping him from playing this game unless he tweaked it during the week.
If he's able to play last week, he can play this week.
And even Roquan Smith said that they're going out there expecting him to be at his full and play at his full. So
yep.
I think the general consensus is going into this game, it's going to be a pretty evenly healthy game. I mean, maybe they'll be missing Cisco, the corner and the safety. I think the other corner who was on concussion protocol last week will probably play. Normally concussions aren't a 2-week injury. They are sometimes, but
depends on the significance and how quickly they're able to get through the protocols. Kind of all individually based.
Yeah, and I know that's like different for everyone. I feel like we're probably going to get a fully healthy Jaguars team, and they're going to get if not Kyle Hamilton.
I'm going to guess at least one or two of those limited guys are not going to be available that are starters.
Now we need to start doing prop bets against each other.
All right, now we're going to get to the TK's Coaches Film Room segment. Hope you guys enjoy. Welcome into the TK's Coaches Film Room. This week we're going to be covering the Ravens versus Rams game from Week 14. Some quick notes that I had from just reviewing the All-22. First off, I just want to give a shout out to Nelson Aguilar. I think he's a very, very underrated key piece for us offensively. Made some key receptions, tough catches, and he's just got some underrated speed that I think somewhat a guy that we haven't really had in the past. That's that third receiver, fourth receiver type guy that still provides you with some high level production. Also, Odafe Owe, I think he did a really good job in the run game, getting off of blocks, something that I think kind of went a little bit unseen the other day. I know we gave up a lot on the ground, but I thought he did a good job in particular of getting off of blocks from tight ends and just shoving them out of the way and causing Kyron Williams to redirect. Also on the defensive line, Travis Jones is going to be extremely, extremely good. I think we did a little bit more with him this week. We put him into that 3 technique role that you kind of see normally with Matabike. So I thought that was pretty cool. We did run a lot of 4 down fronts this week, and I think it was definitely an emphasis to put him in that position to try to, stuff the run a little bit. He did get a sack, one of our 2 sacks, and he's just so athletic for his size. Speaking about Lamar, I felt like he was definitely a little bit more cautious with his decision-making earlier on in the game. I know there was a lot of weather, and I think that he was probably just trying to feel things out before he really just started letting it loose. But there were some times where, he kind of just played it safe with his decision-making rather than maybe making a pass down the field that he probably could have made. Inside linebackers, Patrick Queen and Roquan Smith are being asked to do a lot in pass coverage this past week. Due to being very aggressive, we were trying to bring secondary blitzes with our safeties and corners that kind of put them on an island in the middle of the field without really any help, and that kind of hurt us, I felt like, on those dig routes and crossers. And a lot of times it just felt like their heads were spinning a little bit with where they should have been. Stafford kind of made us pay in that regard. But I will say, as far as the Rams offense goes, I think they are low-key the best wide receiver core that we have faced, paired with a top quarterback and an elite offensive coordinator in Sean McVay. They're kind of, to me, they're one of the best offenses in the league. I will say, I wasn't expecting it to be so high scoring because of the weather, but it turned out to be anyways. And then lastly, I would say the plays of the game that it came down to was us stopping their 2-point try and then us on the other end converting our own 2-point conversion with the Lamar to Zay Flowers. All right, as always, we are going to start with the offense. First up, this is from the very first drive. Little RPO from Lamar, and Monken is going to bring in a motion here with Zay Flowers. He's going to do this orbit motion, and we're just going to block inside zone right here. He's going to run inside zone. These 2 are blocking these 2, and we are going to read this defender right here. So like I said, Lamar was very safe early on. Didn't want to take too many chances. I'm assuming he kind of just wanted to make sure we had the safe play, hand the ball off here, because if he read this out like he should have, this guy right here that we are reading came on a all-out blitz right at the snap off the edge, screaming off the edge, and we have the easy little dunk to Zay Flowers right here in the flat, and it should have been a nice, easy completion. Potentially with Zay Flowers' ability, could have gone for a big gain. All right, but let's go ahead and watch it out. All right, here's your motion. Rams D-line is getting lined up late. Maybe Lamar thought that was why we should hand it off right away. Either way, they actually bring this guy off the edge, and so that means our slot, I think, is going to work to this linebacker right here. Either way, we pretty much have 2 receivers out here for 1 defender, because I don't think this inside linebacker is going to catch anybody out here with his speed. I think Zay Flowers can kind of just go off right here, but instead we just hand the ball off, and I don't think we really got too much off of it. We got like a yard. All right, next play here that I wanted to point out. This is the Isaiah Likely touchdown. I believe this is a 44-yard touchdown. All right, so we're going to bring Isaiah Likely across on a quick motion. We're going to snap it while he's still in full sprint, and he is going to wheel it up the sideline. We're going to get 2 double posts right here to try to carry all the defenders away from Isaiah. And basically, what the Rams are supposed to do is shift out when they see Isaiah motion. They should shift out to him covering him covering him, and then either one of these linebackers or this safety shifting over. However, they do not see that motion correctly. They're basically just sticking on their same guys. They're playing a one-high deep safety. It looks like they're just sticking with man coverage out here, and he's manned up on Zay Flowers in the slot. And basically with those 2 posts taking those guys out of the way, Isaiah is wide open right here, and it's just a nice, easy touchdown. And then, a lot of people were like, oh yeah, Isaiah Likely, that play was easy, busted coverage. Yes, it was. But he had to have some ability to outrun this DB for 25 plus yards to the end zone. And he does that. Stiff arm, touchdown. Beautiful. All right, next play I want to talk about here. So we talked about it in the recap post-game podcast. We did rotate our tackles around. Specifically here, we've got Daniel Falele in at right tackle for Morgan Moses. This play, he's just supposed to be blocking, I think it's pass pro. He's going to be blocking 99 here. We all know who that is, Aaron Donald. So that's a tough ask for Falele, a backup tackle. Either way, we just got to watch his form here. All right, so pass blocking, obviously, if it's a play action, you want to make it look like a run. So you don't want to have your pads too high. So he does a decent job of not having too high of pads, even for how big he is. But either way, he's just completely gets swim moved by Aaron Donald and just lets him go free. His feet are slow. He doesn't have any twitch in his hips to open up and react to Aaron Donald beating him. Normally, if you have that twitch, you're able to turn around or open your hips a little bit and shove off Aaron Donald outside of the pocket. He's not able to do that here, and then Aaron Donald basically has a free shot on Lamar. Zeitler tries to make up for it, but he's not able to get there in time. But either way, Lamar makes Aaron Donald miss and scrambles up for 10 plus yards, first down. So either way, that was the worst play for Falele, in my opinion. I think he did decently well the rest of the time. I just wanted to show that. He still has some work to do, but Lamar makes up for a lot. This is something that I really, really liked seeing Keaton Mitchell, and Gus Edwards. All right, so in this formation, we basically have 2 tight ends here to the boundary, 1 receiver out to the field. We're in essentially a 22 personnel, 2 running backs, 2 tight ends. I count Ricard as a tight end, even though he's a fullback. And then Keaton Mitchell is in the pistol. Gus Edwards is to this strong side where the tight ends are. Some people will call that a pistol strong formation. All right, so basically all we're running here is an outside zone. You're going to get Gus Edwards, though, as an extra blocker, but essentially like a fullback. We get him out here lead blocking on whatever DB most dangerous. Reach, work up to the second level, just, outside zone. So either way, here it is. I just want to point out that I really like this concept of having both of them in at the same time, 2 of our best players offensively. He lays a really nice block here on this linebacker. He's the most dangerous guy, even though Kohler's supposed to block him. Gus Edwards is not going to pass up color. He does a really good job. One thing that people probably don't realize is that Gus Edwards was a fullback in high school. I think he was like a 4-star recruit coming out of high school, so he knows what he's doing when it comes to run blocking. Does a really nice job here sealing this edge. It really just makes it so Keaton Mitchell just has one guy to beat. That's a DB. And we all know if you give Keaton Mitchell just one guy to miss, he is just going to outrun him with his speed. Huge play for the Ravens. Came back and ran it one more time in the overtime period. I think we got like 5 yards on it, but still, this was Keaton Mitchell has any shred of space, he's going to make guys pay. All right, one of the best plays of the day here. This is the 3rd and 17 touchdown. Now, I want to point out, run this play earlier on in the game. I think we got beat, and Lamar was forced to kind of check it down into the flats to Justice Hill here. But basically all we're getting is just this verts concept. And you're going to have one-on-one coverage with this DB right here. And Isaiah Likely. Isaiah Likely is just going to stutter off the ball, give it a little chip, and drag. We're going to take the safety away with this crosser right here, so that takes him out of the way. And then we basically have one-on-one with Zay and this safety right here. And I think we got the same post right here. And you got your check down out in the flats. All right, so this is an empty set. 4 receivers by 1. I always love when you see 4 receivers on the same side because defenses have fits trying to cover that. Any type of route concept. All right, so Lamar is basically just going to, he knows right now that this DB is covering Isaiah Likely. And as everyone saw in the post-game presser, Aguilar told Lamar in the huddle, I'm going to take this safety out of the way. Zay's going to be open behind me, which he was. So here it is. Takes the safety out of the way. Zay Flowers got outside leverage on the safety, so he's got a really good, easy opening there. But keep in mind this. Lamar has a defensive lineman running full speed straight ahead at him while he's throwing this pass. It was not a clean pocket. I think that's Donald, too. Touchdown. Okay, very next play, 2-point conversion. All right, I love this play design right here. So this is going to be a sprint out right here. We are going to have a quick short motion with Isaiah Likely into the slot to make him become the number 3 receiver. And then as soon as the ball is snapped, he's going to wheel back out and run that like flat route. And while he does that, we're looking to get a little bit of a pick right here with Nelson Aguilar on his defender. Try to get in the way. All right, that's his first read. Second read is going to be Zay Flowers. He's going to push vertical and then basically just run a comeback right here into the end zone. All right, so let's see it play out. Quick motion. Speed out. All right. Lamar does a really good job being patient with this. I think a lot of guys, or if he was younger, he's probably going to throw it right now and hope that Isaiah Likely is able to beat number 4 into the end zone. Aguilar does a decent job of setting this pick, but still not enough to make number 4, kind of avoid him too much. He's able to get around him pretty quickly here and shut that down. He's running downhill, expecting Likely to get the ball. If he throws it to him, Likely's probably not getting to the goal line, and we don't get the 2-point conversion. So Lamar does a good job buying time here. He knows Zay is his number 2 read. And not only this, but he's got a free guy coming at him. So this is, to me, the play of the year for Lamar. Scoop up. Zay's got a separation right here because he's so dang quick. Perfect pass, toe tap, touchdown, or 2-point conversion. Here it is from the backside. I just want to point out Lamar Jackson's quickness and ability to put the ball on the dime. Steps up, throws the ball like this. Look at this platform that he's throwing from. He's got his left leg out here. His plant leg is out in front. That's never a good thing. And then he jumps up in the air while he's getting tackled. He throws the ball on a rope right at Zay Flowers' face mask. I mean, it doesn't get any better than that. All right, here we are with the defense now. Like I said in the post-game podcast, Sean McVay did a really good job of kind of finding holes and creating mismatches by motion. Here's an example of that on this touchdown play to Cooper Kupp. All right, so first thing they're going to do is you're going to notice we've got Brandon Stevens on Kupp, and we've got this defender, I can't tell, I think that's Marlon. No, that Marlon's down here. I think that might be Hamilton right here in the slot, or Millette. And he's got 17 Nakua. But they are going to bring Cooper Kupp on a short motion so that he becomes the slot receiver, and they are going to bump things down. And that is going to end up giving Marcus Williams the man coverage on Cooper Kupp. So I don't know about you, but I'd rather have Cooper Kupp on a safety than a cornerback, someone that all they do is cover. A safety, and as good as Marcus Williams is at a mismatch here versus Cooper Kupp. And then Cooper Kupp is just going to run a corner route on him. All right, so bring your motion. All right, with that motion, I think that triggers Arthur Millette to blitz off the edge here. And with that motion, I think earlier in the game, Cooper Kupp motioned all the way across. So Marcus Williams is kind of expecting that. It's just a short motion, so he gets out of position, and he's inside leverage versus a corner. Never good for the defense. And Cooper Kupp just stacks him up. And Stafford delivers. Touchdown. Easy. Great job by McVay. So that's the type of stuff that we're going to have to fix going forward, because that McVay coaching tree is coming around the corner here with the Niners and Dolphins. All right, Roquan here. This is my favorite play that we had on defense this week. We've always, so far this year, have had some trouble with the screen game. All right, Roquan does an amazing job here recognizing that the offensive linemen are going out for the screen and just freaking pouncing like a lion when he sees it. All right, so Roquan's right here, walked up on the line of scrimmage in that just walk-up stance. They're doing their short motion now out, and it's just going to be a screen pass to Cooper Kupp. But watch Roquan, as soon as these offensive linemen are attacking the next level, he's already got his eyes out here looking for that Cooper Kupp, and he hits it hard. Boom! He may not tackle him, but he pretty much made the tackle. He made this a loss, and it was a third down and short. So that was a huge play for the defense. However, the most part, defense, not a good day. All right, like I said, over and over again, motions caused us fits. If I was Mike McDonald this week in practice, I would just be practicing these motions, because if I'm another offensive coordinator looking at this film, I am going to do them the same thing that Sean McVay did. All right, so we got the short motion here. All right, Cooper Kupp just goes from number 3 to number 1. And basically we've got a man coverage, but nobody takes number 3. Number 17, Nakua. All right, so I don't know who's responsible for 1, 2, and 3. It looks to me like Brandon Stevens should be responsible for Cooper Kupp now. Hamilton should be responsible for number 2, 17. And the safety should be responsible for number 3. I think that's the tight end. All right. However, Hamilton goes with number 3 because they run a switch route. Okay, that's fine. If that's what he's supposed to do, that's fine. But then that means this safety has to take number 17 coming vertical. Nobody takes him. Geno Stone, Kyle Hamilton. One of you guys messed this one up. I'm not sure who. Depends on the defense and what you were coached to do. Maybe not coached to do. And that's why this happened. And, yep, huge play for the Rams. All right, here is a third and extra long. All right, so we've got basically our patented third and extra long defense out here. We got our 3 deep safeties just basically creating a fence here. One of them may try to rob a little bit. And then you've got your 2 inside linebackers stacked over the ball. One's going to drop out one way. The other's going to drop out the other way and cover the middle of the field. All right, so Roquan here is supposed to drop into this zone. And he drops there. But the problem with that is he has to have his eyes on number 3. Rewind back here. This is a 3-by-1 formation. 1, 2, 3. And then 1 up top. So if Roquan is supposed to drop to this middle, the left middle, he has to have his eyes on the most inside receiver. Okay, that's this guy right here. Even if he blocks first and then releases, he's still responsible for him. So while he's in his drop, he should have his eyes there. All right, he looks at him right there, and as soon as he sees him blocking, he immediately goes to number 2. All right. And that leaves 87 wide open after he chips and releases. On 3rd and 15, we give him that much room. Not a good idea. So sorry, Roquan. I said you did a great job on the screen, but not so great there. And lastly, this is that 2-minute play where you end up getting a short motion by Cooper Kupp. Actually, no motion, sorry. But we're basically in a quarters shell. What that means is cover 4 defensively. We are quarter, 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 quarter. All right, all 4 of these guys have the quarters of the field. And we got a flat defender on each side, potentially. Yeah, unless we're blitzing, which it looks like we might be blitzing with Roquan. I'm not sure. But normally you have this, and you have something over the middle here. All right, so what that means is Marlon Humphrey should not be biting on anything quick. All right, all he sees is Cooper Kupp here runs an out at like 5 yards and up. He should not bite on the out. This is a 2-minute drill. They needed a touchdown. All right, so let them take 5 yards and make the tackle. Do not give up the big play. What does he do? He bites there, and he just gets beat deep. Luckily, it's not a touchdown. The ball's a little underthrown. Could have been a lot worse, but Marlon, I know you're coming back from an injury. I know you're a little rusty. It's been a few weeks. We need to play smart. All right, and we are back from the TK's Coaches Film Room segment. Hope you guys enjoyed seeing us put up a lot of points on offense, but at the same time, defensively, we got some work to do.
I think 6 of our last 7 games, we've put up at least 31 points.
Hey, what can you say? And everyone's talking about McDonald as this guru DC. I think he's coming back to earth a little bit here and is going to probably hurt. I think lately he's hurt his chances at that head coaching position.
He's young. Give him another year or 2. I think that the key to our offensive explosion really has been, and this sounds terrible, but it's been the Mark Andrews injury, because it's forced some guys like OBJ and Zay Flowers to really, really step up, and they have stepped up. And that's why, obviously we were scoring before Mark Andrews went out, but in the more recent weeks, I think that's played a really big role. And Isaiah Likely, your boy, has been stepping into that role really well, as you said he would. I didn't believe you. I was a Colaire guy, but keep proving me wrong. I would rather be wrong on 100% of my takes and the Ravens win a Super Bowl than be right.
100%.
Really, so,
offensive keys. All right. So looking at this right now, Jacksonville defense, like I said, 3 of those 5 secondary starters were out last week. And that caused them to have a lot of busted coverages versus the Browns. In particular, David Njoku killed them. He was wide open on multiple occurrences and had a huge game. So look for a big game maybe by Isaiah Likely this week. We were able to design some plays last week to get him wide open, so maybe we could do that again. Jaguars are ranked 30th in passing defense. And on the other side, they are ranked 4th in rushing defense. So their weakness is the pass defense in their secondary. So I would say look for the Ravens to pass first, run second.
the reason that they're such a good rush defense, but not as well of a pass defense, is they can stuff the box because they have good D linemen, but they can't necessarily break free and rush the passer. So you get more time to kind of throw the ball downfield. And I've seen a lot of that because I actually do enjoy watching like Jaguars highlights sometimes. There have been quite a few games where once a team just decides that they're going to throw on them, it kind of gets out of hand. Like the 49ers game, like this game that just happened. And even though the Jags were able to kind of fight back into it with their offense, I mean, you guys remember the Bengals game. They were just getting gashed pretty much every time Jake Browning wanted to throw the ball, every time Joe Flacco wanted to throw the ball, there was someone open. Now, a key component to this game will just be making sure that we actually I don't know. I like where the passing game is, but I don't want to rely solely on it like we did last week. I want to find a balance. And this is just me, not necessarily like what I think we should do in terms of how realistic it is. But I think we would have a better chance if we can maybe get some more of that, like you were saying earlier off camera, where we have Gus Edwards as a fullback and putting Keaton Mitchell in as the running back and just kind of having some of those sets. And then also just using Keaton Mitchell as a gadget player. Even though we might not necessarily run the ball, our running backs are good athletes and our running backs can make plays no matter how you use them. So they need to be involved whether we're passing or running.
Yeah, I mean, I think I'm expecting to see a similar game plan that we had against the Detroit Lions, where we really looked to pass first, and then that opened up the run game, and we were able to run the ball on them after we kind of spread them out a little bit. Sure. So that would be, to me, the type of game plan I could see Monken drawing up, especially with their secondary guys probably coming off an injury, probably aren't going to be as aggressive coming downhill and making tough tackles. Maybe the RPO game and getting some quick passes in and just making those guys try to make tackles in open space, especially versus quickness. Isaiah Likely, Zay Flowers, any of those guys, really. They're all quick. All of our receivers are doing a really good job with that. So, but yeah, that's pretty much what I got offensively. I'm curious to see how we continue with our offensive tackles, if we continue that rotation that we did last week, and see how that goes. But
I think it would be wise. I don't see how it's. I mean, I can see how it could hurt us, but I don't see it hurting us. Especially because Ronnie is like out every other week, halfway through the game with an injury. We really do want to get those people the snaps, and also just kind of keep everyone healthy throughout the game. It is playoff time. Every game we're playing right now is a playoff game in one way or another. The Jaguars got really, really lucky that the Texans and the Colts kind of ran into a buzzsaw last week, because they're only one win ahead of them. So they're really, really fighting for their division. They went from possibly being number one seed to crap. We might not even win our division. So I think they're gonna maybe hit us with something you haven't seen before. I think at the end of the day, though, our offense should be able to have a relatively productive day against the Jaguars.
All right. Well, let's go ahead and get into the defensive side of the ball. Defensively, the very first thing that comes to my mind when I think of the Jaguars offense is Trevor Lawrence and his mobility. The last time that we faced a mobile quarterback was Deshaun Watson. And I know Trevor Lawrence is kind of coming off that ankle injury and maybe not as fully mobile as he normally is, but he's still a mobile quarterback. And I remember watching him earlier on in the season coming off of a knee injury against the Saints. And you would have thought at first, coming off of he had the huge knee brace on, he was limping in the pregame, and then he comes out during the game and he runs 40-yard runs, and he's just leaving guys in his dust. And I'm like, all right, so he's another freaky athlete that I think even when injured is going to make guys, miss and be just a huge, strong athlete. And that's really fast.
Right. There's a reason he's kind of made the jump that he has over these last 2 years, because he's just, we knew it in college that he was going to be a freak, but now we're actually seeing it play out in real time.
Yep. The big thing that's kind of hurt their offense is Christian Kirk going down at receiver. He's pretty much, since he's gone down, their passing offense has taken a hit.
Well, I feel like Christian Kirk just opens everything up. I feel like Calvin Ridley has just been so productive when Christian Kirk's on the field, but then he kind of just like disappears into the grass when Christian Kirk's not out there. That being said, their receivers are still players that you need to take seriously.
Yeah, the other guy that you can't forget about is Evan Ingram at tight end. He is a very athletic tight end and is definitely got a big playability to him. And, tight ends to me has kind of been a little bit of our weakness in pass coverage, just because the middle of the field is where they're going to be. And that's where, like I said, in the film room study, we're kind of putting a lot of pressure on our linebackers to cover that middle area of the field. So, that could be a big thing for them to attack with Ingram.
I think Evan Ingram had 2 touchdowns last week against the Browns. By the way, that's my mistake. It was actually Zay Jones who they were missing earlier in the year, but ever since Christian Kirk's gone down, it's kind of been the same story.
Yeah.
But Zay Jones is another guy you want to look out for. He's kind of like one of those speedy wideouts who will beat you because you're not ready for him.
He did it to us last year.
He did. He does it to us every time we play him somehow, pretty much. I remember he was on the Bills one year, or the Raiders maybe, and he like gashed us then too. Watch out for Travis. Oh, go ahead.
I was just going to say, last week they really struggled with pre-snap penalties and communication issues offensively. That's a big thing that I've seen the Jaguars fans have been harping on this week. Lawrence threw 3 interceptions, and it was his worst performance of the year. One of them was a miscommunication between him and, I think, Ridley.
Yeah.
So, I don't think that's going to continue. I don't think that's something that we've really seen throughout the season with them. It's just maybe a 1-week thing. Lawrence probably didn't get full reps in practice last week coming off of that ankle injury, so that's probably why he wasn't on the same page, but he's fully going this week like we showed. They're potentially getting those 2 starting offensive linemen back, Ezra Cleveland and Walker Little. Walker Little is the starting tackle. However, when he was out, Ezra Cleveland started in his place from moving out from guard outside to tackle. So it'll be interesting to see which one of those or if both of those come back, because if Walker Little is out, Ezra Cleveland will more than likely bump back out to tackle.
We should get Ben Cleveland a Jaguars jersey and kidnap Ezra Cleveland and then just make them think that Ben Cleveland is Ezra Cleveland.
He'll probably have his best game of the season. Best game of his career.
You think? Probably. No. I think one thing you also got to watch out for, especially if that O-line is banged up, their run game. They rely so much on the run game. Travis.
Actually, I was just going to get into that. Their run game is ranked the 24th rushing offense in the NFL.
Really?
Yes.
I would have never guessed that.
Yeah, so looking at the numbers, offensively, they are ranked number 11 in yards per game. We are ranked defensively number 2 in yards per game.
Yeah.
Offensively, they are ranked 19th in third down percentage. We are ranked number 8 in third down defense. They are ranked number 24 in rushing offense. We are ranked number 12 in rushing defense. They are ranked number 9 in passing offense, and we are ranked number 4 in passing defense. So passing is their strength on offense. So I think
they do.
ETN is good.
They do a lot of gadget stuff with ETN too.
ETN catches a lot of passes out of the backfield too.
Yeah.
So those numbers kind of are probably a little bit more inflated because of that. But I think the key is to stop the run, because then that makes them become one-dimensional, and then we have to be able to pressure Lawrence, but at the same time we have to contain him inside the pocket and don't let him get out of it.
Yeah, for sure. And I think that I don't know. I feel very weird about this game. I really do. Not like in a bad way, just like I feel like this is going to be one of those games that's just like.
Another thing that I looked at
or something, I don't know,
is apparently something I read was that the Jaguars have done really poorly offensively when playing at home.
Really?
Yes. So that's something to keep an eye on. I don't know if that's like a legitimate thing. I haven't really looked into it, but if I'm just looking at their home record right now, They lost their last game at home versus the Bengals on Monday night in overtime.
Are you specifically saying offensively they do poorly at home, or just in general they do poorly at home?
Offensively is what I read. Okay. That they're like yards per game. See, versus the Browns, they scored 27. Versus and that was, when Lawrence got hurt. Versus the Titans at home, they scored 34. So I don't know if they scored defensive. Versus the Niners, they scored 3. Versus the Colts, they scored 37 at home. So I don't know. Maybe that's not a real thing. But
yeah, I was going to say, I feel like their offenses have been one of the ones that's just been like
I just think they're hit or miss. You never know which Jacksonville team's going to show up.
They do kind of remind me of the Lions in the sense of they will absolutely curb stomp you. But if you just do the right thing in the first 10 minutes of the game, they have no chance.
Yeah.
So I think that they are a team we match up with very well against. I really do. I think our pass rush will be able to kind of negate the pass game. Not entirely, because they are a really good passing team, but it'll negate it to the point where it makes it a little more even. I think we're going to have a really, really huge defensive game out of our middle linebackers, especially with Evan Ingram. Like I said, just not only with that, but also just communication. Because the Jaguars are going to they saw that like all of those shifts last week messed with us, and they like to do that kind of stuff too. Not necessarily in the same way because, they've got different personnel, different players, but they do like to do a lot of pre-snap stuff. And I feel like they could take advantage of that and really expose our secondary if our middle linebackers are not 100% aware of what's going on all the time. Now, of course, I trust Roquan Smith more than pretty much any other middle linebacker in the league outside of a couple to be able to be on top of that kind of thing. But there have been times, especially like I said last week, where they'll get us, So I think that's probably the single most important defensive thing of the game for us. It's just how we react to the passing game in the middle of the field and how we react to pre-snap motion.
Yeah, if they're smart, which I think Doug Marrone is as an offensive guy, they're going to copy out what McVay did and see if they're not able to get away with it. And hopefully McDonald's kind of locked that side of the ball up and, taught them what we should do. So we're not.
I don't know if you saw it, but last week, Mike McDonald was walking up and down the sidelines like a supervillain, like with his giant coat. He was
trying everything. He was throwing. I was looking at, because at first, they were running the ball over us. Right. I was trying to look at on the film what our defense was doing to combat that. We were running every single type of front that you could put out there. Over, under, 5 down. We were blitzing. We were slanting. We were doing everything we could. And it just was tough because we were not getting off blocks in the beginning of the game.
No.
But
all right,
let's go ahead and get into some bold predictions here. I guess I'll go ahead and get it kicked off here. Offensively, I'm going to go ahead and say Isaiah Likely gets you 100-plus yards receiving this game. And then defensively, my bold prediction, Pepe Williams, defensive player of the game, out of nowhere. I think he's going to kind of take over for Arthur Millette, like I mentioned. And, with a Kyle Hamilton that's a little bit banged up, who may not even play, I think Pepe Williams has a very significant role in this game as the nickel. And I'm going to go ahead on the score and say the Ravens win this one 30-16.
Okay. So I have my offensive bold prediction's a little different, and you'll see why. It doesn't replace my defensive bold prediction, but I think that both the Ravens and the Jaguars will combine for 1,000 yards of offense in this game. I think it'll be our worst defensive game, but our best offensive game. So I'm going to say we put up 500 yards of offense and score 4 touchdowns. On the inverse, it's not necessarily as good of a bold prediction. I believe that the Jaguars will also put up about 500 yards on us. And I think that Calvin Ridley will have his first multi-touchdown game without all of the receivers present. I'm that scared of them. I hate to give a bad bold prediction, but I will. Now, that hinges on the fact that I don't think Kyle Hamilton is going to play. If Kyle Hamilton plays, then that could all change. I don't think he's going to play, or at least I don't think he's going to get a full snap count, and that's going to fuck with everything. Earlier, I was doing my game picks for my Pick'em League, and I had the Jaguars winning, and I was pretty confident I was going to go into it with the Jaguars winning again tonight. But I think if we have an offensive performance like that, I don't know. I think we win it like 38-35 or something crazy like that. I think we'll win a shootout, but it'll really, really, really put our defense on high alert.
They should be already after last week.
Yeah, they really should. But if it happens 2 weeks in a row, then they will be,
For sure.
So sorry to the defensive fans, to the defensive players. I believe in you guys. I just really believe in the Jaguars this week. So prove me wrong, as you're really, really, really good at doing.
All right, well, let's go ahead and get into the AFC North and primetime picks. So real quickly, let's take a look at our standings for the season. We are coming down to the final stretch here. Last week, 7 games. Both of us went 4-3.
Yep.
Was just a tough week, honestly. There were a lot of upsets last week.
That really got us.
You got the Patriots upsetting Pittsburgh, and I had the Giants upsetting Green Bay, so it kind of
almost had Green Bay, and then you changed, and I almost changed too, but I didn't.
Yep. So you're still up by 2 games. Plenty of time to come back here, but
this I know I've asked this. You know what? Never mind. I was going to say that continues to the playoffs, right?
Absolutely.
Of course it does. What kind of pick'em would this be if it didn't?
Yeah. So let's go ahead and get into the picks here. Obviously, we are primetime Sunday Night Football, so we are primetime. This week, there are 3 Saturday games that we're going to be picking as primetime games. All right. Well, first, we're going to start with the Thursday Night Football game, the LA Chargers at the Las Vegas Raiders.
Okay. I am not going to lie. I might not even watch that. But
I am with you.
But I think the football fan in me will probably at least force me to watch like half. So,
yeah, pretty much.
How do you feel about that game, Tyler?
I think, honestly, so the biggest thing that I can talk about with that is the fact that Herbert is out. I don't really know if anybody on the Raiders are out, but I did hear there's a lot of injuries in this game, so I expect it to be, let's see, last week the Raiders' score of their game was 3-0, so I think this week the score is going to be like 10-7 or 10-6.
How are you going to lose a game 3-0 in the National Football League? And it's not like pouring rain.
Yeah. So I have to go with the Raiders just because I think they're coached better. I think that what's-his-face, the coach for the Chargers, I can't even think of his name, but I think he's a joke. I think he is absolutely terrible. Worst head coach in the NFL, Brandon Staley. If I were the GM of the Chargers, I would fire him as soon as possible.
So, I don't know, man. The Raiders couldn't score a single point against the Vikings. And I know the Vikings are a good defense. But when you got Josh Jacobs, you got Devontae Adams, and you got Jacoby Myers, Tyler, tell me you wouldn't find a way as a quarterback to score at least 3 points. Like this is why I think the Chargers are going to win. I think the Chargers are going to win because they are the less crappy of the 2 crappiest teams in the AFC. I think the Jets are pretty bad too, but at least the Jets won last week. I think
also Keenan Allen is out.
I think Quentin Johnson stepped up kind of big last week, which didn't expect. I think they're going to rely on him kind of a lot tonight. I think they're going to rely on the run game with Austin Eckler. And honestly, I think why the Chargers are going to win is because they're going to go back to the basics. They really are. They're not really, neither of these teams are fighting for anything but draft position. And if you want to say they have a playoff shot, great.
Well, I would say Pierce is fighting for his job to be the head coach.
Yeah. That Chargers defense it's not good.
Josh Jacobs is out for the Raiders.
Oh, yeah. Okay, so definitely the Chargers. because all you have to do is double Devontae Adams, and Aiden O'Connell will just willingly throw it to your DBs whenever he wants to. So,
and I think Devontae Adams apparently may be out too. Oh no, he's playing. He's playing. But
I was going to say, do you want to change your pick again?
No, I'm still sticking with the Raiders. Sorry.
It could go either way.
I think the Raiders are going to win 10-7 or 10-6.
I think this is one of the games where the Raiders want it so badly that they'll just find every way to screw it up. And the Chargers have no clue what they're doing, and they'll just kind of like stumble their way into a win. I say, well, okay, not stumble in the sense of like the score will be close, because I actually have the Chargers winning 20-13. Maybe even 20-10, because I don't think the Raiders can score. I think Zach Wilson could turn the Raiders offense around. That's how bad the Raiders offense is right now. I hate to harp on Aiden O'Connell, but he's pretty bad. He looks like he belongs in like a Family Strokes video or something. He does. He's more porn star than Jimmy. So I don't know. I just, one of those gut feelings. I'm rambling. Yep. So Chargers.
Okay, Chargers it is. Next, we have primetime Saturday game, also AFC North game. Minnesota Vikings at Cincinnati. Minnesota has announced that they are starting Mullins over Dobbs. Actually, Dobbs is downgraded all the way to the third string emergency quarterback, and they put Jaron Hall as the second string. So the Dobbs, what's the basketball player from the Knicks? Jeremy Lin effect has gone away.
Dobbs' sanity is done.
Yes. So, yeah, Browning has looked pretty solid to me. Browning has looked pretty solid to me. This one's a tough pick for me, but I am going to go with Cincinnati just because they're an AFC North team. And if you're in the AFC North, apparently that means you're going to win every game you play. It seems like, at least. If it's a close game.
What is the status of Justin Jefferson for this game?
Justin Jefferson, I think, is expected to play.
I was reading an article earlier about Justin Jefferson not really liking his chemistry with Nick Mullins. And if that comes out, that's not ever really a good thing. But that could also just be someone blowing hot steam up someone's butt.
They also are out with Alexander Madison is out.
Okay.
Justin Jefferson is questionable. And then everybody on the Bengals, I believe, is playing.
I think what people forget is that even though they're not like necessarily all of the same players as they were last year, most of these guys have either played in a Super Bowl or an AFC Championship game when it comes to the Bengals. They're battle tested. They've gone the distance almost twice. And Browning was a great quarterback in college. And he's getting his opportunity now, and I don't see any reason why he can't beat this terrible version of the Vikings. This is so sad to me because the Vikings had so much potential this year, and then Kirk went down, and it was kind of out the door right then. I was never really someone who was like Josh Dobbs is going to save the day. I think the Bengals probably win like 45-3 or something stupid like that. Just because the Vikings won last weekend doesn't mean they didn't win only 3-0 against the Raiders. So, you know what I mean?
Yep. All right, so we both picked Cincy. All right, next game on Saturday, another AFC North game on Saturday. Pittsburgh at Indianapolis. Injuries to watch out for, obviously, for Pittsburgh. Kenny Pickett is still out. Indianapolis, Jonathan Taylor is out, and they also have a starting offensive lineman out. So you
haven't heard about TJ Watt?
TJ Watt?
He hit his head pretty hard last week and then had to wear a different visor because the lights.
I know, I saw that, but he's been practicing, I think.
Okay, I had heard something about that still affecting him.
He's somewhat. Fully practiced yesterday and today.
I don't think they actually put him through the concussion protocol.
It says concussion as his injury.
I don't know, man. I hope he's good. The game's always more interesting when TJ Watt and Highsmith play. Obviously. What are you thinking on this one?
I am absolutely going with the Colts. I think that they're going to be able to run the ball, and Pittsburgh's offense is just so pedestrian. I just don't see them doing well against the Indianapolis defensive front. And for that reason, I'm going Colts. Being that it's also in Indianapolis, I got to go with them.
Pittsburgh used all their good mojo for the season.
And now Pittsburgh has lost to two of the worst teams in the NFL the last 2 weeks with the Cardinals and the Patriots. So I can't really expect them to beat an Indianapolis team who's actually halfway decent.
Indianapolis was like they committed football suicide last week. They were trying to lose that game against the Colts, or against the Bengals. Everything was self-inflicted, and I don't see that happening twice. I know the Steelers are a team that definitely capitalizes on self-inflicted wounds, but I don't think they're good enough to keep pace with the Colts either. So I'll go Colts as well.
Okay. All right, the next Saturday game to finish it out as the third one is Denver at Detroit. This is a good one. Two teams that are vying for the playoffs. Detroit has kind of, taken a step back here lately. They are 9-4. The Broncos are kind of been playing pretty strong lately. They are 7-6. Yep.
One game.
So the Lions lost to the Bears last week, 28-13.
The Lions were a very lucky 5 minutes away from being swept by the Bears this year.
And the Broncos beat the Chargers 24-7 last week. So
I don't count.
Yeah, that. I don't. That's kind of. I don't want to really even look at that because Chargers, lost Herbert.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna say, this is a very tough game for me. I want to say that Denver wins this game because I think that. Defense. You know what else they said? C.J. Gardner-Johnson supposedly started practicing.
Really?
Yeah.
That's big.
I don't think he's going to play this week, but they said he did start practicing. But, I'm going to pick Denver just because I think their passing offense has been pretty good lately, and Detroit's pass defense has been really poor lately. So I'm going to say that Denver's going to be able to throw the ball, and they're going to put up points. And as much as I don't know. It's hard for me to pick this one because I really love – what's his face, the coach for Detroit. But Dan, what's his face? Dan Campbell. Sorry.
Yeah, you're good.
He to me is a really good coach, and they're playing at home. Detroit's a fun, place to play at home. I think they got a loud crowd. I'm going back and forth.
Crowd react if the Broncos go up early. I remember watching the Thanksgiving game, and the crowd was in it pretty much the whole first half. But then after that, it was just kind of like same old Lions thing. Lions.
It is a prime time game at 8:15 Saturday night.
They play really well in prime time. They really do. I want to pick the Broncos, but I'm not going to.
That's how I feel, but I actually am picking them.
Something just tells me that if the Lions have any hope this postseason, they're going to find a way to start winning games. Because they are another team that is in serious trouble. Well, not as serious as Jacksonville, but has the possibility of not even winning their division.
I will say also Denver's fighting for playoffs too now. They have to win.
Yeah, they do. Well, I don't know if you know this, but Sean Payton was like Dan Campbell's mentor.
Really?
Yeah.
I didn't even put those two and two together, but yeah, that makes sense.
I guess, you know what? I'm going to go with my gut. I'm going to say Denver. I think Denver has a better defense, and that's what's going to win them the game.
Damn you.
Yeah, I know. Hey, all I have to do for the rest of the year is just pick the same exact teams that you do, and I'm good.
There's no fun in that.
I won't do that. No, I really think the Broncos are just the better team. I think Russell Wilson's playing better than Jared Goff. I think that the Broncos have more receivers that are like proven than the Lions, and the Lions consistently give up 20 plus points a week, where the Broncos have been holding teams for less than 16 since they last had a losing streak. So I think that that's probably why the Broncos will win.
Yep. All right, so next AFC North matchup we've got is Chicago at Cleveland. Chicago, like we just said, just came off a big win versus Detroit. They're 5-8. Cleveland's got Flacco, but guess what? Cleveland is biting some injuries right now. Starting offensive tackle Jedrick Willis, Grant Delpit. Shoot, they've lost, I think, 2 or 3 other starters too.
Timing is everything with injuries.
Let's take a look here at their injury report. Jordan Elliott, defensive tackle. concussion. Okoronkwo is the other guy that I was thinking of at the end. He has been out with a pec injury. Their starting center, Ethan Posick, is also out. Or they haven't been listed as out, but they haven't practiced yet. And then, like we said, the other one, Grant Delpit.
Okay.
For the Bears, Equanimous St. Brown, not the good brother, the one that's not as good.
Not Amon-Ra. Not the sun god, the peasant.
So I think I'm going to go because of the injuries and just the sheer amount of luck that Cleveland's had lately. I'm thinking I'm going to go with the Bears. I think they're going to come out and shock some people here. I think Joe Flacco is going to come down to earth a little bit here, and I'm going to go Bears.
Damn you. I think that while the Bears have been very hot, they've been really good. Their defense has been playing lights out ever since Montez Sweat has been on the team. I think he has 4 sacks or something like that. He's been the game changer that Roquan Smith was for us, just in a different way. He's really started to hold that defense together. However, they can absolutely get exposed by David Njoku the same way that the Jaguars were. And the run game has really been working for the Browns. It's not just Flacco. It's like a balance. I think that this is one of those games that's really ugly and it ends like 15-16, but I think the Browns are going to win.
You think the Browns win?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Because they're pesky and they're going to be in it till the end.
All right, so that'll be another one to look out for between us two. Last game, primetime, Monday Night Football, Philadelphia at Seattle. Right now, let's see, Philadelphia is 10-3, Seattle's 6-7. Philly is coming off 2 straight losses. And Seattle is coming off of a loss to the Niners, not terrible, 28-16. And they are also lost 2 straight because they lost to Dallas the week before that.
They played really well in Dallas. But Drew Lock is starting now, I think. So they do have their backup quarterback in. I think I'm
I didn't even remember that. I forgot about that. I think this is the week that the Seattle kind of tanks it out now. I think Philly comes back to life. This is the game they needed. They are going to the West Coast from the East Coast, but they're going to have that extra day with it being a Monday night game. So I'm going to go with Philly on this one. I think Seattle's going to pretty much ruin any hopes of going to the playoffs with this game, and Philly's going to kind of reassert themselves.
Jalen Hurts ain't right now. There's something wrong with him. I don't know if he's hurt. I don't know if he's in his own head. But he ain't playing like the Jalen Hurts we saw earlier this year.
Sure is not.
He ain't playing like the Jalen
to me,
Hurts we saw last
it's
year.
more on the offensive coordinator. I think that their play calls have gotten very predictable.
The good thing about the Seahawks is that anyone can score on the Seahawks. The bad thing about the Seahawks is that if your defense continues to play mediocre, they will score on you too. You said this is where? In Philly?
Seattle.
In Seattle? People forget how great of a home field advantage Seattle has. Their backs are against the wall. They've been swept by the 49ers. They lost to the Cowboys. They're losing to every imaginable good team in the NFC. They're the Seattle Seahawks, and they believe they deserve to be in the playoffs. And what better way to prove that you deserve to be in the playoffs than to absolutely step on the throat of a dying Eagles team? I think that the Seahawks are going to manage to pull away one of the shocks of the year, and Philadelphia loses any hope they have of winning their division, or not winning their division, because they can still do that. But any chance they have of winning the conference as the number 1 seed.
Yep.
I think that the Seahawks are going to hold them honest. I think they're going to establish the run. I think that Drew Lock is a lot better than people give him credit to be. But, I mean, he is still kind of wishy-washy, finicky. But, hey, when is the best time to be a wishy-washy, finicky team? When you're playing another wishy-washy, finicky team that's lost 2 straight, just like you. Best time to play them. So I feel it in my gut. Seahawks, somehow, some way. 23-21.
All right, so here it is. Here's all our picks for the week. Got 7 more games to go after. Hopefully, we get some movement. We don't tie again.
What's gonna happen is you're gonna win all the ones we split, and then I'm gonna be behind, and I'm gonna be so upset.
That would be crazy. I don't see it happening. I'm not that lucky. But with that being said, let's take a look here at the playoff picture through week 14. Here we got on the left our bracket. If the season ended today, we would be the number 1 seed. 5th or 6th seed would be let's start with the 7th seed is the Colts, and they would be facing off with the Dolphins in the first round. It's Pittsburgh be 6 versus the Chiefs at 3. And then the other one would be the Browns versus the Jaguars in the 5 versus 4 matchup.
Good old rematch.
Now, looking at this picture here, outsiders looking in, Houston is at 7-6, as well as the Colts. So either one of those are in game for winning that division. So that could be a big time thing right there.
Right.
Well, actually, no, now that I'm thinking about Jacksonville. Okay, so it's Jacksonville, Indy, and Houston are all within a game of each other. If we beat Jacksonville and one of those other teams wins, they will technically have a tie in that division for the lead. So that could be, they could rival the AFC North as technically the best comp or division.
Great. Send 3 AFC South teams in. I would love that. Don't just Ravens and then like Texans, Jaguars, Colts. Perfect.
And then we can't forget Buffalo is getting hot at the right time right now. They are 7-6 also. So right now there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 7-6 teams with the Texans, Broncos, Bengals, and Bills. All 4 of those teams are looking to get in, but right now are not in the playoffs.
That Dallas game is huge. That Dallas game is like their season pretty much. And the only thing, it really sucks that they're choosing now to get hot because they're the 11th seed and the Bengals, who are right above them, have the tiebreaker over them.
And then, yeah, for sure.
The Bengals actually are in a really good position to make that spot because they have the tiebreaker over Indy. They have the tiebreaker over Buffalo. They don't have the tiebreaker over Houston, but Houston still has a couple tough divisional games to go, as Cincinnati does too. But what I'm saying is, like, you never really know with that. Honestly, I think the team in the best position to make the playoffs that isn't in the playoffs right now is probably either Denver or Cincinnati. But I
think what's going to happen is Pittsburgh's going to wind up tanking here these last couple weeks, and they're going to drop out of the playoffs picture. I think that will happen. I think the Browns will still make it, but I don't think they'll be the 5th seed. I think they'll be around the 6 or 7.
Mm-hmm.
And I think the Broncos and the Bills are going to be the top 2 vying for that last spot, either the 6th seed or whatnot. But, Jacksonville, at the same time, Jacksonville could blow up and implode here too. So who knows? It's going to be crazy last couple weeks here.
Imagine the Colts winning that division. How mad would you be if the Colts and the freaking, the Colts and the freaking Browns was a playoff game?
Anyways, looking at the Ravens, right? We still have not officially stamped our ticket to the playoffs yet. We are still not technically in.
The Cleveland Browns could win out, and we could lose out, and we could lose the division.
Correct. However, let's take a look here. How the Ravens can clinch the playoffs this week. All right. Here are all of our scenarios. We have 9 scenarios here. First of all, we got to win. For all 9 of them, we have to win. All right. Secondly, we want Denver to lose. If Denver loses and we win, we have clinched the playoffs. And we would also need an extra help. Buffalo loses or ties, Cleveland loses or ties, Pittsburgh loses or ties, Houston loses or ties. Now, if we win and Buffalo loses or ties, then we need either Cleveland, Pittsburgh, or Houston to lose or tie. Lastly, if we win and Cleveland loses, and then Pittsburgh or Indy tie, we are in. And then last one, we win, Houston loses or ties, and Pittsburgh or Indy tie, we're in.
Note that we'll know by the time we play our game if we can clinch or not.
Correct. We will know. Pretty much, we just got to win.
Yeah, I was going to say the only common factor here is that we win. So
Yeah.
Don't worry about any of that other shit and just win the game.
Just win the game. We win, we're in. I'll say it right now. We win, we're in the playoffs. But yeah, let's finish.
10-win team, you can't even clinch your division at this point.
The only team that's technically clinched the playoffs right now is the whatchamacallit for the NFC.
The Niners.
The Niners, yep.
Yeah.
All right. So with that being said, let's finish this off with Mike's top 5 Ravens for the week.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I'll keep it quick because we are running way over than what we wanted to.
As always.
Go figure. Number 5, I had Travis Jones, who just kind of had his kind of breakout game for the season so far.
Love it.
He had 1 sack. He almost had another sack right after that. He was getting pressure. As you guys saw in the film room, he was dominant. Number 4, I'm going to have to probably go with OBJ. OBJ has just continued to become a reliable target for Lamar Jackson. You saw, even in running the wrong route, he was still able to kind of adjust and make that touchdown catch. He's just also, you hear this week that he has been like a big brother to even defensive players in the locker room. And that's something we haven't really had in a while. So that's why I have him number 4. Number 3, I'm going to say Lamar Jackson. He put together the best drive of his career the other day. The best, I would say, best sequence of events, because I don't know if you count the 2-point conversion, but as part of the drive, but it was still, all of that. Just everything from being cool and collected, from finding his guy on 3rd and 17, from not panicking when he had pressure in his face, just being what we know and have known he can be, and just showing it to the world. Number 2, I had Zay Flowers, who had an amazing touchdown and an amazing 2-point conversion. He did have a couple drops in the game that were negated because of those 2 great plays. But number 1, I don't think it could go to anyone else this week. Our AFC Special Teams Player of the Week, Tylan Wallace, probably what was this, like the first time he's returned a punt?
In a regular season game.
In a regular season game, yeah. And he takes it to the house. John Harbaugh was talking about how he had considered putting Zay Flowers in because he's like shiftier and faster, but they went with Tylan because he actually had been taking snaps, and it was the right decision. Everyone's kind of concerned there was like maybe an illegal block in the back, but when you actually watch the replay, it was not. He was gone. He broke, 2 or 3 tackles. He caught himself after that like shoestring tackle attempt and didn't slip when it was like a freaking pool out there. And he cemented himself in Ravens history, especially if we go on to like win something this year. That is a key Ravens history moment. And he was the guy behind it. So congratulations, man.
Tylan Wallace for Prez.
Right.
But yeah, with that,
Super Bowl MVP.
There you go. With that, let's go ahead and wrap this one up. Hope you guys enjoy your weekend. Got some bowl games, college football Saturday.
Let's go. Who are you guys?
Bowl games.
Your
Coastal is not this week, but there's a bunch of games going on. Myrtle Beach Bowl is going on.
Bowl this year.
They do, but it's not on Saturday. They are actually in the Hawaii Bowl. I think like next week.
Okay.
Yeah. Yep.
Either
So
way,
yeah,
y'all enjoy yourself some good, meaningful football this weekend. And
yeah,
let's
for sure.
Go Ravens.
Go Ravens. Go Flock. Let's go. Primetime.
Ravens, go Lions, and anyone else who needs to win to get us into the playoffs.
Yep. Yes, sir. All right, y'all. Make sure you like, subscribe, and share, and have a good weekend.